Hello and welcome to Cinematography Podcast, where we break down and review a movie of my choosing, and sometimes Hayden's, and just have a bit of fun, as to the extent of human nature, level equivalent of fun and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like the equivalent of pushing Hayden down the stairs. That's fun, but
You too.
She said it's fine, so it's fine. I'm your host, Drinking Thomas Hughes.
And I'm Hayden. I said the Soviet Union.
It's just the Soviet Union. It's just not Superman Red Son.
What? For fuck's sake, I watched the wrong film again.
Now I want to push you down the stairs for real. Come on,
I was
let's go.
wondering why there were a lot of Russians. I swear it was set in Kansas, but no, there's a lot of Russians. And Batman. Oof. Less we say about Batman, the better.
You don't even watch that film.
Yeah, but you talked about it, so...
the vast little information I've given you has made you just imagine the entire an hour 20 of that movie.
All I know is Russian, Superman, and Batman's naughty. That's all I know. That's all I need to know.
Fair enough. Today we're discussing Man of Steel, released in 2013 and serving as the launchpad of the then named DC Extended Universe, until they renamed it DC Worlds or whatever the fucking keep going with now. As well as giving us a new take on the Superman origin story.
Yeah.
Because we'd had a few takes before this. Obviously we had the old Christopher Reeves ones. We had the Smallville series.
Because Cage won.
That which sadly never happened. Sadly. It would literally have connected to the Michael Keaton Batman. It would have had Batman vs Superman back in the 90s. Why the fuck did you cancel it, Warner Brothers? Would have been cool though. And obviously we had Superman Returns, but that has a redacted name in it. And since James isn't here, I will say it, Kevin Spacey.
That's right, James.
Sorry. The movie was directed by Zack Snyder, a visionary American director who's the whole reason behind this DC Extended Universe.
Yeah.
And then Warner Brothers kicked him out. Then basically said, "Oh, can you come back?" And because copy and pasting Marvel doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, it turns out the person we got is actually shit. So we'll get someone else.
And we'll get it. Come on, come back in. This guy's turns out to be bad news. The less we say about that redacted name, the better.
Yeah, Mustache Boy.
Anyway, obviously, away from the superhero genre, he gave us the Dawn of the Dead remake back in 2004, which was actually his first movie. It's the one that was wrote by James Gunn.
Yeah.
And his next film after this Snyder Cut Justice League movie that's coming out soon is the Netflix movie Army of the Dead, which he claims is a spiritual sequel to Dawn of the Dead. And it stars Dave Bautista. And it looks quite good.
Ooh.
It's very stylized. It's set in Vegas and the zombies, so it looks good. It's free. Well, it's to an extent it's free if you're on Netflix, so...
Yeah.
So,
Your own Netflix.
Gives you something to watch in May.
If you're stealing Netflix from your mum, then yeah, you watch it for free.
Hayden, ladies and gentlemen.
As we say, I said the Soviet Union. We all share. It's Soviet Union, Netflix. It's all of us.
Anyway, yeah, let's give some early...
Next. That joke ruined.
What are you trying to say?
I was trying to say next fluss, like us, but it didn't work.
Go back to sleep, Hayden. Anyway, some early thoughts on the movie without giving a rating. I'll kick us off. I very much enjoyed it. I saw this back when it came out in 2013. I watched it in IMAX, a big ass fucking screen, and it served it justice. The sound design is incredible in the movie. The acting is good. Obviously, the story is decent. Okay, we'll get to the pace later on, but it is a bit rushed at times, as Hayden will like to point out many points. I think the action's good. Even though obviously the action actually isn't like a main focus on this movie, it's more just building up Clark Kent as Superman, which is a bit different. But when it does go action, it goes action.
Yeah.
Trying trying to think what else I was going to say. The score over the top of it increases its, greatness at times, which we'll get to in more detail when we, cover that bit. So yeah, I think it's a solid origin story for Superman, and it's a solid superhero movie in general. Any thoughts, Hayden? And Hayden has died. God damn you, terrorist Batman!
I had to communicate with the rest of the Soviet Union. We're debating whether or not, if McDonald's should be for all of us. We've agreed.
Should it be for all of us?
We won't call it McDonald's. We were going to call it something else. We're thinking Mac Rasputin.
Mac Rasputin.
Yeah.
Mac Rasputin. Sounds like a metaphor, to be fair.
Whatever that, or just sort it into McPutin. So
it's a lot shorter. I like it.
It's for all of us.
So yeah, what's your early thoughts on this movie?
My thoughts is it's okay. It's a decent film to watch. It's not the best out there, but when it comes to Superman, it's the best one there. You know what I mean? It's the best Superman film, but it's not the best film. If you get my drift.
I get your drift.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not. For example, it's not as good as most Marvel films, but it's better than Thor: Dark World. So that's a win in my book.
Okay. We'll move on to the next category then, which is the opening sequence thoughts, which obviously the opening sequence of this movie is the destruction of Krypton, which you usually get in most Superman adaptations at the start.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the opening. I thought they went for it. They gave us something visually stunning to look at. Because as I said when we was watching it, the fact that this short, say 10-15 minutes, had better CGI than fucking Ares and Cheetah in the Wonder Woman movies. And even the fucking what's his fucking face in Suicide Squad? What's his name? You know I'm on about the fucking bad guy in that. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Well, technically the bad guy is the Enchantress, but
Yeah, but the bad
The
girl.
brother.
They're the bad guy of it.
the brother.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Mm.
But yeah, so the fact that his opening sequence has better CGI than what's actually meant to be a main plot point of movies says something. Because it looks stunning. Obviously, we kept making constant jokes about fucking putting Fortunate Son over every time there's a fucking shot of the sun and there's like a helicopter flying.
Downhill.
Because it does very at times, and especially the sun shots, it very much looks like an old Vietnam style war movie. And as we say, we're just missing the Fortunate Son to add it to it and give us the extra points. But I mean, in general, the opening sequence as well, it gives you not just obviously the visual look, it obviously gives you some character, obviously stories and whatnot. So obviously, it shows that Kal-El's parents are obviously determined to save the legacy of Krypton through their son. Yeah. So obviously that's going to sort of pass on to Kal-El later on in life when he's determined to save Earth.
And it shows them grabbing a certain MacGuffin, which obviously comes important. The whole conflict near the end, really.
You mean the key?
Yeah, the weird black skull that they grabbed.
which then turned into a Superman symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very strange.
The Codex.
Yes, the Codex. It's the MacGuffin of the entire film, really. It's the Tesseract, the thing that everyone's going for, but not really. It's the thing that makes all the plots converge, really. It's the thing that's there. That's what it's for.
Yeah. And I think as well, it also, obviously, it shows you this sort of side of Zod as well, whereas obviously he's at the same time as being determined to basically rebuild Krypton, it also shows him being quite desperate. Mm-hmm. The fact that he's risking basically everything just to essentially, he quotes "Save Krypton," but he's pretty much probably going to run it into like a Soviet Union style place.
Yeah, like the whole point of Krypton, obviously, like they've gone past the need for actual birth, and they've gone, let's all act like ants, and just like go, right, you worker, you fighter, you worker, you breeder, you science person, you can be prostitute, you can be Soviet Union version. No, so it's a little like he's been driven into him this like way of life, whereas Kal-El, like Kal-El's just born into Earth. That's the whole point of it's their like way of living versus Earth's way of living. They're very a lot like capitalism versus Soviet Union. I'm going to keep
essentially. Obviously, they've bred him into a soldier, whereas obviously Kal-El gets bred into whatever he wants to be.
Yeah,
does he want to save the day? Go do it.
He's stuck in his ways, whereas obviously Kal-El can
do whatever he wants.
Be who he wants to be.
Exactly.
You know? He's born this way.
And also, it shows you that he's a bad loser when obviously he kills Jor-El. When he's clearly seen he's lost. When obviously the ship's blasted off, and he just turns around and obviously stabs him. It shows how much of a sore loser he actually is. Which obviously gives him that villain motivation of being a full-on villain. I'm a bad loser. I lost at Connect 4. You're all gonna die!
I'm gonna go to Earth and pump it full of air, make it bigger, which would more likely destroy it. Because that's totally not how that's how science works. It makes it bigger. Whoa.
To be fair, though, he clearly was aiming to destroy Earth anyway. I think it's terraforming. He's practically going to destroy Earth and rebuild it from the ground up. He literally, I don't think he really cared. That's the desperation in him to get that fucking codex later on. Is that he doesn't really give a shit what he's doing. He doesn't really think it through. He's just like, I want it. I'm going to get it no matter what. Which obviously he's pushed onto us here.
He's the war person, not the science person.
Yeah.
He probably thinks before I find out that this world engine actually is a way of just blowing up worlds and not actually like terraforming, and he's just there like, it's gonna work. Everyone dies. He's like, oh, next planet.
Yeah.
That one looks nice. It's all red and full of iron. We'll try that one.
Yeah, he didn't actually start with Earth. He wrote many planets beforehand, and he finally found out because, oh, that's where the fucking my bot baby is.
That's what happened to Pluto.
Yeah, no, obviously this as well. We get to see, cause we obviously don't get to see within it, but we get to see their sort of take on how you get into the fucking Phantom Zone. You don't get the, as I say, help me. You instead get basically like a massive fucking portal where a ship is blasted into. But one thing I will say about that is the fact that if they just kept Zod on Krypton just that extra 5 minutes, he would have blown up and killed him. So they basically saved Zod's life. They're like, oh, you're banished forever. We don't ever want to see you again. Oh, we're going to die in about 5 minutes. But yeah, you're going to survive, mate. Don't worry. If you get out of there, you'll be fine. They basically just... They caused the entire movie. If they had just killed Zod, left him on the planet, then they would have died. Idiot Kryptonians.
Kryptonians. We're the smartest people in the galaxy. Also Kryptonians. Let's save the one guy that wants to kill us, and we'll all die instead.
Exactly. Dumbasses.
God. I mean, those guys could have survived if they put all the Kryptonians in the Phantom Zone.
Exactly. They could have all blasted up instead of Zod and that, and that would have been fine. What dumbasses?
We could save ourselves, but he shot my girlfriend, so I'm going to shove him in the Phantom Zone.
But yeah, dumbasses. I will say though, obviously the trial scene you do get, obviously before Krypton goes up, obviously it's a whole line of Zod when he's just like, oh, I'm going to find him no matter what. You're going to shove me in this Phantom Zone. That's when they should have gone, you know what, we should just kill him right now. He says he's going to find him like multiple times. He said it more than once. He's definitely going to find him now. But it's just the whole muttering. He's just before he gets frozen, and obviously then they get frozen, and it's like I love how everyone's reaction to them being frozen, like in pain, and Zod's just there, just like staring. He's like, I don't feel anything. Frozen.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically badass.
Yes, you can agree.
He's a badass that doesn't feel pain. But then when he comes out, I bet they all look, obviously unfreeze after him, and he unfreezes first. He goes, "Ow, me, that fucking hurts."
He goes, "Can't find it. I can't find it."
No, the freezing doesn't freeze him. He gets out and unfreezes on Earth, and there's a Lego piece right in front of him. Goes straight into his foot. Ow, me fucking foot! Zod destroyed by Lego.
Oh well.
Anyway, decent opening sequence.
Yeah, it was
Visually stunning.
definitely.
So I'll move on to cast and characters. So I've sort of outlined the sort of distinction now. I picked a few characters here. So obviously we'll start with the sort of Superman family side of this. So we start with Clark Kent, aka Kal-El, aka Superman, and obviously he's played by he's played by Henry Cavill, who obviously most recently he's played The Witcher in the Netflix series, and he gives us a very good interpretation of Superman here. There's a lot more emotion on view, because obviously if you look at obviously the version before, obviously the old fucking Christopher Reeves ones are meant to be more comical at times, less serious taken.
Like the Batman films.
Yeah, the Smallville era was meant to be more like teen drama, so you know.
Yes.
But obviously, unless we talk about the film with two redacted people, the better.
Let's just say the guy from Legends of Tomorrow, Superman. Yeah, he was good.
Obviously, this is like a more darker spin with a lot more emotion on show than all the other ones.
It sets the tones for like
the later
the DC
movies,
films. Yeah.
Apart from like Aquaman, which just goes, let's make a funny movie.
Yeah,
instead.
Aquaman's more like, let's make it less, broody.
To be fair though, by that point Snyder's gone, so
yeah. But that point though, it's like let's copy Marvel.
Yeah, that's literally the point when they went, let's copy Marvel, and that's why it's so successful.
What happened to 4? Let's do that.
And that's why that movie got fucking. I think pretty sure Aquaman got like $1 billion at the box office.
Yeah,
it did really well. Apart from Redacted.
Yeah, and then that happened.
It's still a good film, but we'll get to that next month. Obviously, as I say, it gives us this different sort of view on Superman, and he does a really good job at it. Yeah. From even there's little like sort of scenes that show obviously this new version, obviously he has this side of him where he wants to show his powers, but at the same time he's holding it back because obviously his dad wants him to basically reveal himself at the right moments, which is obviously seen with the bar scene when that guy is obviously bullying, basically harassing that woman. He's like steps in, and obviously that guy starts bullying him, and he's just like he wants to punch him, and he's just like, do I not? And obviously she stops him anyway before he can obviously think even more. But then obviously that's him not showing his powers, but obviously he still went and fucking destroyed him later on, so he still knows when to use his powers just subtly, which is a lot different to like other versions of Superman who will just reluctantly just use their powers instantly. He sort of holds back until it's sort of his hands are forced essentially. And even that scene later on when he's a certain person he kills, when he just sits there and obviously he shows that emotion there when obviously he just realises that he's had to do something he wouldn't want to have done.
He didn't want to do it, mate.
That just scream on his face.
Yeah, because he knew he had to do it, but
he didn't want to.
He didn't want to be that kind of character. Which I think makes the whole like controversy, shall we say, bad. Because he was okay. I think it was okay for him to do that because the whole point was he didn't like having to do it. It's not like they did it. He was like, "Ha! I'll move on from that." It's more of he actually showed him that itself hurt his psyche, who he is. So yeah.
If he turned around and stuck his fingers up and going, "Ha! Fuck you, bitch!" then that would have been a lot worse.
Right, we killed him and all his gang. Let's go get to the chimichangas.
He kills him and starts teabagging him. Ha ha! You're dead.
So, body for Soviet Union.
But yeah, I think he gives us probably the best incarnation of Superman.
Yeah, definitely.
Though obviously the new the one that's in his own series, but
probably,
obviously he's like short spanning Supergirl, and from what I've read, he's spanning this pilot episode. He does a really good job of kind of being a real like close competitor to Cavill's.
Yeah.
We'll see when
For
that's actually fully released. Yeah, movie-wise, he's the best.
Good. Until we get to the next film.
No, until we get to
he's good in it, but
until we get to the mustache. That's when it gets a bit worse.
Well, I blame those on external stuff, like in Superman. I blame the writing for his scene and the way they've directed the scenes, not him. And let's talk about the league for better.
Okay, then we'll move on from those opinions to our next character, which is Lois Lane, played by Amy Adams, who was in the movie Arrival.
Yeah.
In that alien one. And I say when I was watching this, I think this is probably her best performance as Lois Lane. Obviously, she sort of goes a bit iffy in the next two, but this obviously gave her a lot more centre focus at times, and she just acted the shit out of it. She gave us an actual good Lois Lane. And obviously, she obviously at the times obviously she has this sort of comical side to her. Like some of the comments she makes, like when she's like, "Oh, if you're measuring dick sizes and whatnot," she still has this more serious tone to her, which is obviously the same as this movie. Essentially, she has this seriousness, and obviously she's what sort of essentially drives the plot in this, and essentially drives the plot throughout this whole Snyderverse.
Mm-hmm.
She's literally the centre focus of all this plot. To quote the Flash in the next movie, she's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Which is ironic because she gets the key at some point in this movie.
Oh, circles. Literally,
Circle of
like
life.
Poetry. It's like poetry.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, to be honest, that was just like it come off my mind. Then I've only just really thought into that.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking more into it. Damn, I'm good thinking of that.
Like literally, George Lucas would be proud. Yes, people like poetry. He first fancies this girl. They find out it's his sister, but yet he does it anyways. Poetry.
Oh shit! My headphones fell off.
And then he penetrates his nephew. Poetry.
But yeah, she's good in this. As she's in most films she's in. She tends to be. Yeah. Obviously, that's why she's been nominated for many awards. Even the Muppets movie, when she's mentioned more as humorous, she's good in that.
Yeah.
Obviously, next up we have Martha Kent, played by Deanne Lane, who was the mom in Inside Out. And again, she leads on to a certain scene in the next movie. But obviously, for this film, we only get these few sort of scenes. So we get the few flashback moments with her, and then we get the present day sequence when obviously Zod and that arrive and whatnot. And she does give us this sort of country style vibe at times as she speaks. And also she gives like Martha Kent this sort of badass sort of moments. But when she tells basically in layman terms, she basically tells Zod to go fuck himself. She basically shows that Martha Kent's kind of a badass in this universe. Apart from Justice League, but the less we talk about that, the better.
I mean, yeah, we don't talk about those ones. We could talk about this film, and we'll wait until we see the actual good cut, if it is the good cut, later on.
Yeah. Only a couple of weeks away. Whoop whoop.
A lot can happen in a couple of weeks, you know.
You mean North?
Sure you mean the Soviet Union in a couple of weeks.
I was about to say, you mean the Soviet Union's going to take over again? What is this?
Maybe.
Red Dawn?
I don't know. Maybe I'm planning it.
Hayden, are you planning the Soviet Union taking over again?
Maybe.
Hayden.
Would you rather we go that end or the other end?
Okay, fair enough. We'll just carry on then. Keeping with the Kent name, we also have Jonathan Kent, played by Kevin Costner in the sort of flashback sequence of the movie. He was in the movie The Bodyguard. Because and I will always love you. Woo-hoo. I remember that fucking song from fucking Simpsons. When Homer goes to bodyguard camp. And the guy starts singing it as like their ceremonial graduation song, and they just all walk off. and he gets funny into it and everything, and he just doesn't see him or walk off. But yeah, obviously, he gives Superman the emotional side of it. The fact that he's obviously the whole reason why he chooses not to show his powers off as much as most Supermans do. And obviously, I think they chose the right actor for him.
Yeah. I mean, like, who else can say, maybe you should let those kids drown, other than him?
Exactly. He does obviously have this side. To be fair, it shows his fatherly side of him. He wants to keep his son safe. He doesn't give a shit about them lot, though. He'd rather his son's basically not show himself to the world. He'd rather keep him safe. He's basically, son, don't become a porn star. Just keep yourself off the internet, son. Basically that.
Never learn. They never learn.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why TikTok exists.
What do you use TikTok for? I'm pretty sure that's against the terms of service.
Shh. They'll never know.
I do now.
Fuck. But yeah, obviously he's sort of the character that brings Superman down to earth. Brings Clark back to. He basically brings Superman back to Clark Kent.
Yeah, it's
Be
like
a man, not a Superman.
Like the Jensen in Iron Man, the one that like gets Iron Man like from being this high celebrity, I don't care about anyone, to actually caring about someone and valuing his life.
Basically, he's like the opposite version to that. It's essentially, if you're obviously comparing Superman to Iron Man, basically he's saying, "Oh, just be the billionaire snob we all know you to be." That's basically what he's sort of trying to do.
I mean, like, he's stopping him from being like
basically being the like Jiminy Cricket on his shoulder, essentially.
Yeah.
Sums up a bit better. Jiminy Cricket.
To be fair, I've only had like Superman. 2 hours. I've had 2 hours sleep, so.
Well, I've got motion sickness, so.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be doing that to VR porn. Just saying.
Shh! Stop telling people. Kyle's the culprit. He started it all. Everyone harass him. But yeah, Jiminy Cricket. Obviously, lastly in the Superman family, we have Jor-El, who's played by the great Russell Crowe, who most recently has been in that sort of horror-esque movie Unhinged, which I sent you an image last night, Hayden, and it's basically Russell Crowe but really chunky. He's as good in that as he is in this, because he obviously he's just that badass Russell Crowe we know from like Gladiator and Robin Hood and that. Like, which is ironic for the fact that the other dad figure in this movie was also in the Robin Hood movie as Robin Hood. So we've got 2 Robin Hoods in this movie basically. But I mean, he gives us his badass side to Jor-El. Because a lot of times when you see like Jor-El, it's just basically sort of like he's later on in the movie when he's just standing around, just basically just talking, being this like ghostly figure, just talking to Superman. Whereas this, actually, we get to see him kick the shit out of loads of guards
by opening and closing doors.
I mean, the bit early on when he's shooting them.
Oh, that as well.
And then later on, he does the Force and starts shutting doors and everything for people. But yeah, I think he chose the right actor for Jor-El in this movie. Because I love Russell Crowe. You gotta love Australians, am I right? All you're missing is Kylie Minogue.
Yeah. Kylie Minogue.
And we'd have our neighbours reunion.
Not Danny Minogue. No, we won't go that far.
She was also in Neighbours at some point, but yeah.
Just Kylie.
But yeah, it gives us this, obviously, his alien father. Basically, essentially, obviously, Jonathan's like the one that's like, you need to basically not be Superman. Jor-El's basically the one that's going, couldn't be Superman.
It's basically it's the 2 like composing ideals, like
Angel and Devil,
exceptionalism, and what the other one is called, can't remember. But the idea of one is like Avengers, like the whole of like some people are better than others, and it's their duty to protect those. And then there's the other side of you should be more focused on your own goals. It's like those 2 competing ideals.
Yeah, exactly. But they're basically the Angel and Devil.
Mm-hmm.
Jor-El being the what'd you say? Would you say Giles be more the devil or trying to push him to do something, whereas Jonathan's been more the angel of "Don't do it, son."
I think he's more the angel because he's doing it for more like you need to do it for the better of everyone else, like risking your own life to help others. Whereas John's more like selfish, like let those people. If it means keeping you safe, I might have rather you let those kids die.
I feel like it could work either way. I feel like it could work either way, though.
Yeah, depends how you spin it.
Yeah, it depends how you spin it. I feel like it could still work either way. But yeah, that basically sums up his character. Good, well acted, basically. And obviously we'll move on then to our villain, which is General Zod, played by Michael Shannon, who's in the Knives Out movie. And as we stated, obviously when we were talking about the opening sequence, he gives us this basically sort of militaristic style of Zod, which obviously I think we've seen before. That was in Smallville as well, that sort of militaristic side of it. But I mean, he also gives this basically, not to quote the movie that Russell Crowe was in, but this unhinged Zod at times. But the fact that he gets desperate when he wants something. He's a sore loser, and he's basically very evil for the fact that he's basically just going to destroy the Earth to make Krypton. And I think Michael Shannon's the right actor for the fact that, just like a lot of all of these other ones, apart from Henry Cavill, a lot of these established themselves before this movie came out. So he's like major establishment, which obviously people obviously started recognising him a lot more, was Boardwalk Empire. So obviously it was the right choice for this villain. I can't really think of anyone else who I'd want to play General Zod off the top of my head.
Danny DeVito.
Okay, other than Danny DeVito.
Nicolas Cage.
Other than Nicolas Cage.
Kylie Minogue.
Okay, there's a lot of people that could have played General Zod, but you get the point. I was expecting to say Jeff Goldblum, but
I will say Jeff Goldblum for Superman.
Jeff Goldblum versus Danny DeVito. Yes.
Jarrell.
But yeah, I think he gives a decent General Zod performance. I like some of his dialogue he does. And just his posture at times, like how he's presenting his lines. He literally looks like he's a straight up soldier.
Yeah, they're all good, except for the one thing that pisses me off is the entire time is his hair. It puts me off the entire time.
What's wrong with his hair?
I don't know.
It's short and simple like a military cut.
There's something about it that it puts me on edge, and I don't know why. I just don't like the hair. It looks a bit too Simon from the In-Betweeners.
It's meant to be militaristic, that's why. But less bald, neo-Nazi militaristic, more short and sweet.
It feels
communism and militaristic.
I don't know what it's about. It just puts me off.
Hayden, ladies and gentlemen, hates people's hair.
I do. Yours like that. You're Sid. Jesus Christ.
Go fuck yourself. So we'll move on to the military side of this. So first up we have General Swanwick, Martian Manhunter, played by Harry Lennox, who's in the series The Blacklist. And obviously he plays a sort of, I would say, pivotal enough role across the next two movies. And obviously we don't exactly know how he's going to play the role of Martian Manhunter in the next Snyder Cut movie, but obviously he basically is this sort of generic sort of soldier type character at times. Kind of a hard ass on people.
The whole point is it's like subterfuge. It's like he looks like he's playing this normal, simple character, which will then become so like bigger in other ones. You're like, holy shit, he was green all along.
Basically, he's playing the role sort of like maybe he's like watched loads of war movies and he's like, okay, play a stern figure, and basically eventually he's going to actually show off his more, basically showing less emotion, which obviously is Martian Manhunter in general. So he's got that right.
It's very similar to like the Supergirl ones, where like the whole point is, secretly the head of this alien hunting people is actually an alien all along.
Yeah.
sort of like scenario.
Basically, he does good at his job here, being that sort of generic character, army guy.
Mm.
Talking of ones that actually do something, we next have Colonel Nathan Hardy, played by Christopher Maloney, who was in the Law and Order Special Victims Unit series, and he's going to be in the spin-off series to that soon. Obviously, he plays a more hands-on approach in terms of military side of it, for the fact that he gets involved a lot more physically. And obviously, we've seen with one of the fights later on when he actually starts shooting and whatnot, which is not needed for the fact that he's clearly seen this, it's not going to work. But
Humans.
yeah, humans. It basically plays.
Everyone.
The thing is, at the start, he sort of plays like the first, like say, like, hour and a half. He sort of plays like his sort of arsehole sort of character. Like he's just like he's your general sort of military guy. He's again stern. He basically he's a bit of a dick at times. But then the second half of the movie, obviously, he gets more likable towards Superman and Lois for the fact that obviously Superman saved him, and he's like, okay, you're kind of cool, man. I like you. Let's do this. Let's do this guy's plan. I endorse this plan. Let's go do it.
Mm.
But essentially, he's gone in full circle.
Yeah,
his character
became
developed.
a simp for Superman.
Yeah,
basically.
which is what the S stands for, ladies and gentlemen. It's not super. It's simp. It's simp man. The fact that Superman basically simps over Lois the entire movie, and in the next movie,
Clark Kent, it's James Ray.
and you're banned.
No. Should I hit myself on the head again or something?
You're enjoying it too much, so no. That's what you're going to do. Every time you say something, you're not allowed to do anything.
Oh.
Exactly, so we'll move on then. So lastly in the military, we have Dr. Emil Hamilton, played by Richard Schiff. I don't know how you pronounce that. He was in the Lost World Jurassic Park. He was like got ripped apart by T-Rex. There's not much to really say about him. He just essentially just plays a doctor. There's nothing like special about him. There's nothing bad about him. He's just sort of this mediocre character. That essentially is the whole reason that it goes boom boom at the end. So he does play a pivotal role, but he's just a mediocre character, essentially. Agreements there, Hayden?
I agree. All I'm allowed to say now. I agree.
So we'll move on to the last character I've written down, which is, because we couldn't talk about Superman without a member of the Daily Planet involved. And that's obviously Perry White, played by Lawrence Fishburne, who was in The Matrix. And
Ant-Man the Wasp.
yeah, it gives us this sort of stern approach to Perry White. It gives us basically a sort of, oh yeah, I own this company. That sort of like, I'm not going to take this joking around, do your job. But then at the same time, he sort of shows later on that he's got this emotion towards his staff, like he won't let anything happen to him. That scene when obviously everything's going fucked up, he obviously risks his life to save one of his staff members. And it gives us these two sides to this character. So he's got it makes him a complex character. Essentially, it makes him like this ordinary sort of businessman, basically, but also this softy at heart.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I feel like they chose the right actor. I did like Lawrence Fishburne. He knows when to do that sort of role. He knows when to be a bad guy. He knows when to be a good guy. Go watch him in many movies. He's brilliant in pretty much everything he's done.
Have you been sponsored by him?
No. Big sponsor sign comes up behind me with his face on it. We'll move on to the next part, which is the story. So obviously this story starts with obviously the destruction of Krypton and then basically meeting Clark Kent. And in the middle is basically meeting the rest of the characters, obviously a lot more the military side of it, getting to know them, as well as the return of Zod. And in the end is basically good guys versus bad guys, the big final fight.
Yeah, it starts off Krypton destroying. Then we learn more Clark Kent and suddenly it's Superman. And we're like, what? How'd that happen? And then net goes snap, and then like, it's finished.
It did feel really quick, which we'll talk about in pacing, but it does feel really quick at times, which is weird because it's 20 minutes long. It's literally 143 minutes, and it does not feel 143 minutes. It feels quicker than that. It feels really quick. I don't know why. Obviously, maybe it's just because how it flows through. Like as you
Yeah.
say, it just sort of jumps at times, and we'll get to that later on. But I still think it's a decent sort of. You should sort of average superhero story, but still think it's a decent story. And I feel like it. I like the bits when it shows you obviously Superman not as Superman. It just shows him as Clark Kent, just basically trying to live a secret, like basically a less like like basically the view of the sort of camera sort of look. Like he's a fisherman, he works at a bar, like that sort of style of him. I did like that. Yeah, I like Superman with the beard. It looks really cool, which hopefully we'll get to see at some point.
Maybe we'll.
Maybe, but yeah, I still think it's a decent story. As I say, it's sort of you run the mill superhero sort of plot at times, but it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
Talking of still being good, we'll talk about cinematography.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
And as it usually is with Zack Snyder movies, cinematography is actually decent.
Yeah.
He knows when to give you that shot which makes you go, "Oof!" Like for example, as I said, the whole Krypton sequence in general, that was some good cinematography and special effects there. The bit with the oil rig.
Oh yeah, that was good.
But that was quite cool. And he obviously just grabs hold of that sort of girder. Is that the word I'm after?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously when he jumps onto that and holds it, and it zooms in on his face. He's just essentially just roaring to himself to try and lift it up with all his might. That was really cool.
Yeah, like the flying scenes, obviously, and the scene in space where like he spins around to like face Earth stuff.
Yeah,
they were good.
the first flight is probably one of the best sequences in the movie when he's putting his hand down and all the rocks start floating. But I like the bits as well when he sort of flies straight up and you got the fucking when he's breaking sort of the sound barriers and whatnot. When he's going that quick and you obviously have that gust of wind around him. It looked quite cool. And it's even like the shots from just behind when he's flying, when he's got the cape against the screen. It's shot really nice and looks really cool. Like give Snyder credit, he knows when to make something visually like draw you in and go, oh, that's cool. Shit, it's over. Fuck. It's really been 2 hours.
Oh, that's cool. Shit, that guy's head's been snapped off. What?
Basically, some really good cinematography.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously, that's also. It also helps when you got a really good score over this good cinematography. Because as usual, Hans Zimmer just knocks it out of the park with his score. He's a good composer. Obviously, he's composed some shit films over the years and some mediocre films. But I mean, even if the film's bad or mediocre, you can still tell he's got a good soundtrack over the top of it because he actually does good work on it. And obviously, this is a fine example because it gives us a decent Superman sort of like his like own sort of character score essentially, if you know what I mean. Like he makes you go, yeah, this is Superman's theme, you know it. And obviously, this is Zod's theme, you know this is Zod's theme.
Yeah.
And obviously, the flight when he does the first flight, he has that obviously score over top of that, which is really cool. And not even just like the score as well. I mean, actually, I spoke when we was watching it about like just the sound design in general. How sometimes it just goes really quiet, like to suit what is there. Like the tornado scene. Obviously, when Jonathan puts his hand up to turn to stop it, just as soon as obviously got this massive sort of destruction sound on the top from the tornado hitting. It's filling your ears and everything. This sound, and then all of a sudden his hand just goes, but the music just stops. And obviously, it's really quiet when you hear obviously Clark yelling. So obviously the sound design's like muted it all to symbolise obviously this death. And then later on, when obviously the next snappy, when he drops to the floor, it goes quiet again. The sound just stops. And I was even during this, just before the snappy when he's laser beaming, the sound design on that it's sort of muted as well. It's all muffled and everything. As it's basically it's like, oh, just don't do it. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna bye.
Definitely, it's like the whole like basically for the tornado scene. The sound design is probably the only thing that was good about that scene. The rest was dog shit, but the sound design was good. I will agree. But the effects and the way that scene was done.
I don't think the effects were shit on a tornado. I've seen worse tornado effects.
Yeah, I've seen worse tenor effects, but it it drove from the emotional moment. Like, it felt more like, why did that happen? Instead of more like, shit, he's dead. You know what I mean? Yeah. But the sound design for itself definitely, like, helped. And it definitely was a good moment, sound-wise.
Your opinion
Yeah.
there? I enjoyed the scene. I thought it gave
I
you
know
this.
you was having orgasms over the Earth engine, or whatever it is, the world engine noises.
Oh, the fucking when it comes down. I was listening to it earlier again.
Yeah.
It sounded like a T Rex when it comes down. When it first fucking like lands into the ground, it sounded like a fucking T Rex. It literally sounded like a dinosaur. I was like, oh, I was when I was watching it with you, I was like, that sounds like a dinosaur. And I watched it again today. I was like, it fucking sounds like a dinosaur. But yeah, there's a lot of good sound designs and basically scoring. Basically, anything music wise, it does really well. Which you usually find with Snyder films. Usually the sound design and the score over top of it is great. So this is no different there. So I give him credit for choosing the right team. Which then moves on to special effects.
Oh, special effects.
And obviously, there's a fair bit on show here. As we stated, the opening sequence is literally a lot of it is the special effects. Like from the design of that fucking like dragon-like creature, that looked cool. A lot of the stuff around Krypton looked cool. A lot of that sequence in general looked really cool, thanks to this really good special effects. So they put work into making it look really cool. So we'll give them credit there. And obviously, a lot of
the world engines, the all the planets to go to, like even the fact that the Phantom Zone actually looks better than other stuff.
not even the fight scenes, because obviously the fight scenes are all obviously CGI mixed with obviously practical, and it looks good. Obviously, them is basically battering the crap out of each other in midair looks really cool, and obviously that sort of sets into.
It looks like there's actual unnecessary damage going on.
Well, there is unnecessary damage going on. I mean, you see all the buildings that went boom boom.
Like, we know it's unnecessary damage, but it looks like it's real unnecessary damage. You know, it really looks. It does look like floating Witcher guys going around smashing some weird Statue of Liberty haircut guy into buildings. So yeah.
Well, you do see later on, like after the fight, the destruction it's caused, which we also get to see at the start of the next movie.
Yeah, because it's the whole plot point for the next movie.
There is basically this whole fight is full of unnecessary damage, which most superhero films are in general.
Yeah, I mean, at least like he didn't really glance over the damage, of course. It's like how in Marvel, like in Jessica Jones, they kind of like mention how in the Avengers when Hulk's going around jumping on buildings, that woman's mother died, being crushed by the building he destroyed.
Whereas he's obviously fully focused on it.
But it's focused on more like Batman's like, you killed someone who worked for me. Now I kill you.
And he also killed basically like everyone inside the building.
Yeah.
Basically like an entire building worth of people. Which isn't Superman's fault, but you know, damage control, mate. You gotta consider it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
contact Tony Stark with damage control.
But yeah, basically he's got even like the sort list bits of special effect look really good for this.
Yeah.
So we'll give him credit there, where it's due. We'll move on to the very few little action sequences. Obviously, we already talked about the destruction of Krypton. There's the little fight in there you get between Zod and fucking Jor-El. But obviously, Jor-El's fights look really cool.
Yeah, and obviously we talked about the destruction. We talked about destruction in Metropolis as well. Good fights there.
But I mean, there's still there's still another fight. We got the bit when obviously Zod first comes to Earth, and he basically confronts Martha, and he's like, "Oh, where's my codex? Where is it?" And obviously we joked about the fact that she's like, "Oh, I'm never going to tell you. Let's look at this barn. Yeah, it's definitely not in there. Please don't go and look in there." But I mean,
I'm looking there. Bitch, it's not there.
Obviously, we get this sort of emotional scene. Obviously, when Superman comes back to Earth, and he's obviously looking at Lois, but then he just hears all this, and he's like, oh shit, man, I'm out of here. And obviously he goes off because he just grabs Zod before he can even harm his mom. Obviously, Zod's not fully. It's not obviously a massive fight for Zod. This is just to give Zod his powers.
Yeah,
Because obviously this is
he's
just to
stuck
break
in
his
armor right
yeah.
now, not affected by the atmosphere yet. Well, more like he's not being absorbing. I don't really get though why they haven't got the powers yet, because it's the sun that powers them, not really the atmosphere.
I think
But
that
they
suit.
make it like it's the atmosphere.
I think the suit's designed basically to.
Like already
Yeah, though you can see it sort of. It blocks out everything.
The whole point of it's blocking out, because obviously the whole point of Superman's powers is it's the like non-ionizing radiation from the sun that powers him. So you could say that it's because it's blocking out all forms of radiation. That might be why.
Maybe.
Mm.
That's probably more like it is. Literally, the suit's just designed to stop anything from coming in. Basically, it's meant to. The suit's meant to be. The inside's basically Krypton. Nothing else can get in. Essentially.
Yeah, basically.
And obviously, the fight does go on because obviously Zod's minions, the big one, obviously the girl turn up. And
yeah, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, the one who was cast as originally was Gal Gadot, and then fucking obviously she had to drop out, so she took over. She got a better rhyme, but it's fair enough.
Good for her, and then the film went down, but still.
Yeah, and obviously they have this little fight where they're basically destroying Smallville, and obviously the military do get involved and start just blowing the shit out of them. Because I do like when the military get involved, because they're like, oh, do we actually shoot on the blue guy? He's actually doing good things. So obviously the soldier's like, oh no, shoot every single one down there.
They're all fire and shoot him.
And obviously you get the sound design in that as well, when he throws the big guy throws that fucking the vehicle, the truck at him, and the sound just goes really quiet. They're like, incoming. And obviously, I think it's a decent little fight because it's the first sort of big fight of the movie, and I think it does a decent job of showing off these other Kryptonians how kind of better at fighting they are than Superman, because obviously they've trained for this, they know how to fight, whereas obviously Superman, it shows obviously he has to rely sometimes more on his obviously the powers he's got from Earth, like he's obviously his heat vision, which he's seen when they're grabbing hold of him. He has to use that to zap his way out.
Yeah, obviously as well, like that's also the reason why he kind of gets up hand of Zod, because obviously he has more control over his powers than Zod does.
Yeah, though obviously Zod, you see later on, he is trained for this. He feels like he can do it. He's kind of he compared to Superman hasn't trained for fighting. He knows how to hone them a lot more and control them a lot more than Zod, and use them a lot better. So we'll get to that when we actually talk about that fight. But I mean, the obviously you don't get to see obviously the face of this big fucking brute, but he's quite cool. He's obviously meant to be like this sort of big sort of brick wall essentially, and it's I find it kind of weird that they can still use some sort of like powers, like the fact that they can like jump and everything.
I think it's more that's the suit.
I was gonna say, I'd agree.
I think the mix of the suit and the fact that their bone density is going to be obviously a lot more different to Earth's bone density. It's like what's that film? Is it that film where the bloke goes to Mars, and because obviously Earth's like humans' bone density is a lot different than on a Martian's, he can jump higher and is a lot stronger. I can't remember what the film's called, but it's probably that
Horror action.
It's like a sci-fi action kind of film, like classic, like he's the Princess of Mars or some shit like that.
Oh, John Carter.
That's it. Yeah, it's probably that kind of premise.
He was talking about man going to Mars. Like no one's coming to mind at the moment. Is The Martian with Matt Damon.
No,
which would be ironic because Ben Affleck in the next movie. But I was like, this doesn't sound like The Martian. And obviously, that's when you say, oh, you can like jump around. And I was just, when he said Princess of Mars, that's what got me. I was like, do you know about John Carter?
Yeah,
the Disney box office disaster.
I think it's that kind of like idea of, because their bone density is so much more higher, they can do stuff like jump and are stronger because that's just how their bodies are built, and it's the armor's what's protecting them.
Yeah,
They don't really need the Kryptonian like stuff to do that. You know what I mean? So like even if like they didn't have, like, if the Krypton's atmosphere was here, but the Earth was still small, they would have this strength and power.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty about right.
I,
But yeah, obviously this sort of shows off but their sort of fighting skills they brought to Earth, which obviously we get to see later on with Zod.
Yeah.
So he gets it basically gives you a little taste, just little dip your toes into the bath to see if it's warm, sort of taste check. Basically just testing.
to see if it's okay to drown kids in.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I still think it gives you enough to sort of, because obviously the next fight pretty much comes like straight afterwards, near enough.
Mm.
So the fights pretty much come like flow into each other, straight away. So good fight. We'll move on to the last fight then, because obviously the military have to use the ship that obviously Kal-El came in to blow up the fucking world engine. Obviously we have sort of the military side of it when they basically was blowing the shit out of the machines when I get blown out the sky, and then you got the Superman side of it when he's trying to destroy one of the world engines, and he's getting attacked by Doc Ock, and he's having to fly around dodging them all before. As pointed out, the fact that him being around the world engine is basically him being on Krypton, so he's powerless. But you know, he listens to his dad at heart and just hones all his strength in to go boom, boom.
And like I said, even though he's weakened by the atmosphere, he's still got the same biology. That's why he can still jump and be stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously that sort of then leads into everything's blown up. Obviously the military are dead now. The only one who survived is Lois, because Superman caught her from the ship when she fell off.
Yeah, because
she luckily survived just because she fell backwards.
The power of horny.
I did laugh at the scene when the guy's like, "Hey, Miss Lane, come over here. It's not safe," and that guy dies instead. He's like, "Just get away from the edge. You're gonna fall." Oh no, someone's broke for the bottom and chucked me off the ship. Bye bye. Wilhelm scream. Wow.
Alright.
But yeah, obviously you have this sort of heart to heart between obviously Lois and Superman when they're looking at each other, but then you have all the people seeing the fact that they're like, this guy's the hero. He's just like saved everyone. It's not like it's his people that have come here to destroy everything. He's just saved everyone.
Yeah, but they were bad people. He was a good person, so it's fine.
Yeah, and they're all like sort of cheering, like whoa. And obviously then Zod comes down. Obviously they both confront each other. Where obviously Zod's like, "Oh, you basically destroy Krypton, and I'm basically just gonna destroy our hopes of bringing Krypton. So I'm gonna destroy you and just rip every sort of cell from your body, so I can rebuild Krypton myself." And obviously they go start, as you say, unnecessary damage, start smashing through buildings. They go through the Wayne building, destroying all those people inside, giving Bruce Wayne something to anger about below, going, "Oh, I'm gonna get those darn pesky kids." And then
aliens
destroyed my property. I'm gonna get them in the next movie until they say the name Morpher, and I'll stop. Sums up the entire plot. But yeah, obviously they start smashing through buildings and everything. And it's like, obviously this thing flows until they land at that construction site when Zod tries to smash him with the fucking girder and he laser beams it all. And it's sort of like, he's like, "Ha, I stopped you." And Zod just uses the last little bit of girder and just goes, "Hey, bonk."
Huh.
And obviously then Zod obviously fully engulfs these powers that he's got from Earth. And he's like, "Okay, I've basically trained for all this now." He starts ripping his suit off and everything. He's like, "I can hone my senses better than anyone." Which he can't, clearly, which we'll see in a bit when he gets his ass kicked. But obviously he's pretty much pointing out the fact that he trained for years on Krypton to be this soldier and to use his basically his inner strength to beat enemies, whereas Clark's basically spent his entire life on a farm training, which basically in his eyes is inferior to how he trained, which turns out is the other way around. But obviously he's now in a full sort of, essentially like a black Superman suit without the cape. And obviously they have to, again, unnecessary damage, smashing through buildings, beating the shit out of each other. So I keep like hiding behind like buildings and just smashing through them. Obviously then they're going to space, so you get a bit of space again, and destroy a satellite, and then they rain down on Earth, which again is another sequence scene within the next movie at the start when all the parts are falling down. They're falling down with it. Obviously they eventually land within that sort of, it's a train station like area, isn't it? Like sort of like Grand Central Station sort of like, place.
Yeah, that kind of place.
Yeah. So we won't talk about that yet because that's the actual ending. So we'll get to that in a bit. But I still feel like, obviously, this is only what I said, that essentially near enough the third sort of fight, but it's the major fight of the movie, and it does feel satisfying at times. As you say, helps with the special effects on the buildings looking like they actually are. being unnecessarily destroyed by these two, smashing things to pieces, and obviously the score over the top of it, the cinematography shots, how it looks, I think it equals an actual really good fight scene.
Mm-hmm.
And
Agreed.
obviously then that flows straight into the editing section with Hayden, so take it away.
That's some good stuff. Now let's hear the bad. I think it's all right, but my main pick of the editing is that they seem to have stolen the blue filter that's in last six Harry Potter films and just whacked it on there because everything's just fucking blue.
It is Warner Brothers.
I know I don't know why, but every time there's always the blue filter, it feels like if this is supposed to be America, it feels cold. Like, I feel cold watching this. I feel like I'm in the winter and I need to get my little woolly hat on and like sit down with hot chocolate going, "Oh, I'm watching Superman, that classic not a Christmas film." It just it makes it feel very broody, which I know it's because it's the DC universe and it's like
Very dark. What is this, the DC universe?
I'm dark and I have loads of shady feelings and I've got a very mysterious background, D&D rogue, but it just, I think personally, it slightly hinders some of the like cool moments when it's just like feels like Elsa's froze over it. But other than that, yeah, it's alright. Plus that little nitpick, when Elsa's not jizzing over it, it's fine.
Okay, then we'll flow into the pacing of the movie. Obviously, we both had concerns of the fact that it just feels really quick. It feels really, really quick. It does not feel like 2 hours, and I think it's like 2 hours 15, something like that. It does not feel. It does not feel 2 hours 15. It just went really quick.
It's like we're saying. At one point, Krypton's dying. At another point, it's the bloke from Teen Wolf. And at another point, Zod's already dead. And like, what? I went down for a cup of tea, and now it's like finished. What's gone on?
Obviously, for the purpose of how the story flowed, it obviously had to be this sort of quick pace because that's how they wanted to get enough information in. But it went a bit too quick. I feel like some of the stuff they got in this, I feel like obviously they could have pushed the Superman part to the second half of the movie. Like the first half fully focused on Clark Kent becoming Superman, and the second half being Superman. He's here now, and Zod's here now. Oh shit, we're gonna back the crap out of each other. Oh no, we just killed loads of people. It was an accident, I swear. Batman, don't try and kill me with kryptonite weapons, and then make me say my mom's name's Martha.
Martha. Yeah, definitely. But even though the pacing felt so quick, they still managed to put unnecessary scenes in there. Like when at the start, we see what happens to Krypton. We see, and then halfway for the film, they basically tell us what we've already seen. But that
basically stuff they should have done off screen, basically.
Yeah, they could have used that bit there to more like add more time building up to him being Superman, building up to him learning more about being Superman. I mean, let's be honest, like we've seen obviously the build up in Smallville, and it would have been more interesting to see if like in more depth and how they want him to build up instead, like how this film does it. And there were times when they had more space to do that, but instead did unnecessary stuff.
I agree.
So yeah,
it just feels really quick, and they could have added a lot more into it to basically, as I say, give us half a movie with Clark, or even just do like a full movie with Superman, but do flashbacks to these moments.
Yeah.
Like show me it's his past life. Like either he's talking to someone, or Lois doing a journalism. It's like, there's this guy that no one knows who he is. He keeps popping up everywhere. He's just doing this oil rig and whatnot. And then you see these sort of sequences. That would have been intriguing.
Yeah. That would be a really good film, actually, if it's all from her perspective.
That'd be interesting.
That would be pretty good.
Warner Bros. Maybe that's an idea. We'll move on then to production design. And I think the production design looked quite cool because obviously when they're not using CGI, like when they're sort of in the corridors on Krypton and whatnot, obviously that's a lot of that's sort of obviously practical sort of sets, and it looks really very much like an alien sort of place.
Yeah, or look, the ships about that was inside the ships and stuff.
Yeah,
Like it's not only does it feel alien, but it feels like that sort of Soviet Union look they're going with Krypton, like that old, like the sort of dusty kind of like black and sort of dark greys, like it's got that sort of we're from a dead planet kind of look instead of fancy. Everything's like glowing and shiny, and oh, we're from the SS Enterprise kind of like look,
basically good production designs. Not just even on the aliens, basically just like normal stuff as well, like the whole daily planet and all that. Literally looks, they've got it sort of nailed down of this massive sort of office news reporter place. So they nailed pretty much every aspect of the production's design, which they tend to. Style movies, movies tend to look production wise look really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if they're a bit weird at times.
Just like weird snot on the floor, which is supposed to be healing person, but then just turns into a ugly looking Hulk. Even like the scene, like the actual setting, it's pretty good. Yeah, even those times.
Okay.
Just ignore the person doing it.
We'll move on to the script, and it's a decent script. Obviously, there's some flaws here and there. I feel like some of the lines would have been shit if they weren't spoken to by the actor that says it. I feel like some of the actors basically, as you said, the one line of obviously basically being born on a farm. I think it would have been really cringy from another person saying it. But I feel like Michael Shannon actually did give a menacing sort of. It was more of a statement than anything like, "Oh, I'm better than you. You're literally just training on a farm." I think Michael Shannon gave it that edge rather than just being like this really cringy line of, "You're born on a farm, man." I'm now Shaggy from Scooby Doo. Zoink Scoop.
You challenging me?
Maybe. But yeah, I feel like it's an alright script.
And one of those.
The hell's that? Is that Connor? As Connor's randomly appeared.
Zod came in.
Hello, who's this? Hello?
I thought it was you, Hayden. I thought someone in the background randomly turned your TV on. No, it's Connor's randomly appeared.
You're live on Channel 4. Please do not swear.
This is Alex.
Damn it, Alex. What you doing here?
I'm doing gay stuff.
Oh, I'm gonna move on to the ending then, Hayden.
Okay.
Alright, go.
Well, we're gonna kill Connor now. I mean Zod.
You do what you want. You do what you want, Connor.
You do what you want.
You can sit here and you can comment on nothing you haven't watched.
And the ending that we're about to talk about.
Oh, the ending, yeah, I love the ending. The bit with the credits, love that bit.
Yeah, I like that bit as well.
No, the ending is obviously when Superman has to basically snap Zod's neck.
Yeah, he chokes the bishop.
So obviously Zod threatens to laser beam Innocence. He's basically like, if you want to be with these people, you can basically mourn for them. So he tries to kill him. Obviously, Superman's essentially just forced to snap his neck. And as we said earlier on, the fact that this obviously shows that his reaction to it is that he didn't want to do it, but he knows deep down he had to do it because Zod wasn't going to stop no matter what. So essentially, it killed him on the inside, but he had no choice but to do it. Are you two kissing?
He depends what parts. But yes, the ending was controversial, but I think it was done right. Like we managed to have the fact that he actually mourned over the fact that he went against his beliefs of killing someone where he didn't want to. Was done right.
But essentially, he went against both his sort of father's sort of looks upon him. Essentially, they both wanted him to be this good guy, but obviously not kill, and essentially he's now just
Instead,
broke both his dead father's hearts.
he gets succumbed into the Soviet Union and like joins them instead.
Jeez, he's got more dead parents than Batman. He's got 2 dead dads and a dead mom.
He's got a collection of piles of them.
Yeah, but that's just his dead mom and dad like 25 times.
Everything will be out.
And
He
obviously,
even adopted them.
obviously that sort of then flows into him sort of succumbing to normal life. Obviously, he's destroying the drones that are basically following him and whatnot, trying to find out where he lives. And then he goes and joins the Daily Planet, which obviously sets up the story as basic parts of the story for the next film. So they've well rounded him for the fact that usually Superman is joining the Daily Planet way early in these movies, but this way around it's the actual ending. The ending is him joining, and basically everyone's like, "Oh, nice to meet you," and Lois is clearly like, "Oh, those glasses aren't fooling me."
I've done stuff like flying alien. Thing is though, like he walks in without his glasses on, so people are like, why is Superman walking into that lift? Puts them on and like, oh, where'd Superman go? Right, mate, I haven't seen you before. Superman was standing right there in those clothes. Bob, you're Superman because you've got fucking glasses on. Only idiots would think that Superman doesn't wear glasses.
But yeah, I still think it's a decent ending for the movie. Obviously, you got the controversial side, which I enjoyed the controversial side because it gives you that different look at Superman. And then I obviously enjoyed the fact that it was obviously the nostalgia was like, I know he's actually joining the job that we all know he's a part of, the Daily Planet.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy the ending. I thought it was a decent ending.
I agree.
Which then flows into the big question, Hayden, which is
Yeah.
the rating of the movie. So I had some like thoughts about how I'm going to go through it, but I do think it's probably one of my favourite. Obviously, this extended universe, it's one of my favourite ones in there. It's not my favourite, but it's one of my favourites. So I've been. It's a bit dicey. How am I going to go for this? Fuck it. I can change my mind later on down the line.
Yeah, you can.
So my rating for Man of Steel on the first time round for the podcast is going to be 9 out of 10.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
Okay. I'd say 7 out of 10. It's like I keep saying, it's okay. It's not the best film, but it's a better film than other options there is. As I keep mentioning, at least it's not Dark World.
Yes. Or Origins Wolverine.
Yes.
Something to throw again.
Not that. At least it's not Last Stand.
Okay. Or Catwoman. Jesus, I got something in my throat again.
Okay, you got bad films in your throat.
Oh no! I better throw them all out. Blah! Electra. Ben Affleck, Daredevil. Just all the posters come flying. The DVD cases come flying at my mouth.
Yeah.
God, I've swallowed some weird shit over the years. Oh, there's that Buzz Lightyear that's went up my arse. It's finally come out.
Like it's no Shaving Ryan's Private, but it's still a good film.
Okay, then so that gives Man of Steel a Chattercape overall rating of 8 out of 10.
We didn't find out if Connor rates it 69 out of 69.
I'll give it 20.
Okay, we'll quickly give our Chattercape MVP award before we do the question now. So the MVP award goes to
That's Henry Cavill.
Yeah, it's Henry Cavill's Superman. Because Hayden's
Most
simped over him.
Because it's Henry Cavill. And, you can't not give Henry Cavill anything. Award or anything else.
Plus, the fact that obviously we stated it gave us this other side to Superman. It gave a lot more emotion on the show at times than other incarnations have. So we'll give him credit. Give him credit when it's due, basically.
And he was topless.
That too. The runner-up goes to, because I'm adding a runner-up now, because last week we pointed out the fact that it was a close one, for the fact I almost gave it to Wolfsbane. So I'm going to add like a runner-up so we know there was a runner-up. Which is Michael Shannon's General Zod, just because I really liked him. Yeah. Look, I had that one Xbox 360 Xbox Live skin all those years ago. If you remember correctly.
I remember. I remember, yeah, like when you first like mentioned like, oh, I love this this quote, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remembered you were a nerd over that.
Like General Zod, it's good character. Okay, we'll move on then to the question of the day, Hayden.
Yeah.
So my question of the day is, what other character would you like to get an origin story movie that hasn't had one yet? So it can't be one that's already got one, or over the years had one, or he might be having one soon. Has to be an original one.
Has to be an original. Well, that that's quite a tough one. I mean, all my favorite like hero ones have got one really, or getting one. Like DC wise, Flash is my fave. Getting one, or Harley Quinn. Technically, Birds of Prey was one, wasn't it? Really,
Mm-hmm.
a mix of so DC wise done. Marvel, just look at the entire MCU already done. That's quite a tough one, really. And we're creating Old Man Bob, so there's that. It's Bob the Builder. And I remember the Thomas Tank Engine one. So
It's probably just saying someone like Spider-Gwen.
true. I think that don't know if that class was more class though in like class in Spider-Verse.
I wouldn't say
It's
so.
not, then I would go for- I would go for
It
Spider-Gwen.
wasn't fully focused on her, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't say so.
if that doesn't count, then yeah, I would go for Spider-Gwen. I just thought like nothing that's actually been done.
No,
like,
even if it's been shown like slightly within another movie, as long
Oh,
as it's
yeah.
not their movie, you're allowed
Yeah.
to do it.
That's good then. Yeah, I would go for Spider-Gwen then, yeah.
Okay.
Because Spider-Gwen, as you know.
I still think there's a few other characters that could
Yeah.
be interesting to see. Obviously,
Oh,
he was
I think
good.
it's Spider-Gwen though. You could also use Peter Parker, like Tom Holland as Peter Parker.
How do you mean?
That's cool. Because obviously the whole point of Spider-Gwen is it's her that gets bitten instead of Peter, and Peter becomes Lizard. You could actually show Tom Holland's, like his alternate universe, Tom Holland becoming Lizard.
But why not Tobey Maguire?
Because as much as I love Tom
And then
Holland, it has so much to get Toby.
Then as Lizard, he can do the Spider-Man free dance.
Yeah, but I want like Tobey Maguire to come at the end of the film doing the Spider-Man free dance. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just like pop in like, oh, wrong universe, text it, they think they got it back off. Did it? Swans out.
I feel like there's a few that could obviously get their own sort of origin. Obviously, I think even villains could get a shot at obviously getting their own sort of origin story movie. Like Deathstroke, for example. I like one of my favourite villains. If you could get one, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Red Hood. Obviously, we've seen it a few times how it works within obviously Batman animated films and series and whatnot, but it'd be interesting for that. Trying to think of a hero off the top of my noggin. Bum 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 bum. Can't think of one off the top of my head. God, this is hard to think.
I mean, I had one idea, but I felt like it was a film. It was a shit film, but it was a film.
Oh.
Constantine.
It wasn't that shit.
Yeah, but it wasn't like.
Keanu Reeves is what basically brought Constantine into the light to basically make him go, oh,
but
it's a cool character.
It's not that guy. You know,
Yeah, it's no Matt Ryan, but I mean,
yeah.
it was a decent way of introducing them into the universe.
Wasn't he American that as well?
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, shit.
It was a alright film. I wouldn't say it's terrible.
A properly done like British, well, Scousey kind of like Constantine.
Well, they're remaking it as a series again, aren't they?
Oh,
But they didn't. I think, from what I've read, they basically changed his nationality. From what I've read.
what? French.
No, I can't think. I'll find the link and I'll send you basically what I've read. Okay. I can't really think off the top of my head any more heroes. It is. I'm glad.
You kind of went Teletubbies origins.
I'm glad I'm not the one answering questions because I can't think of a superhero character that hasn't already had one that could get one. Would be nice. So fuck it. We'll move on to us done. So that's it for Chat Code Podcast this week. Join us next week as we carry on with this universe as we discuss Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition, I might add, not the base edition. So we're going the 3-hour version.
Let's see if I still find it shit.
So until then, I've been your host, Drinking Thomas Hughes.
And I've been here with the Soviet Union. By the rest of the thing, I don't know. Rah rah.
Connor randomly showed up at one point.
Oh,
He's here.
see you later.
And this has been a Chat Cave podcast. And is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's not
No,
one of Tom's
Soviet
crappy
Union.
jokes. It's also Soviet Union. Bye.
Woo-hoo.